After college and seminary, my first job in a church was in Des Moines. While I was there, I was asked to consider starting a church in Ankeny. And my first reaction to that was, no, not interested. I like it where I'm at. I like having an office, I like having a building, and I really like having other people. But we ended up, my wife Sarah and I, deciding, well, we'll commit to praying about this. That can be a dangerous thing. Through that process, God led us in the direction to start a church, and we asked some other people that we knew, and about 25 other people said, yeah, we're in this. We want to be a part of this. And so the Ridge really began with 25 people that were meeting in my living room.
It seemed like Mike always had a story. Like, we learned early on that he was a storyteller, and one time he made brownies that tasted horrible and nobody wanted to say anything because we didn't realize he was working this into a story. Remember that? Yeah. But we did some worship together. There's always scripture, and then we'd break into small groups. Remember that? Because he really wanted us to know what it meant to be the Acts 2 church. And so we would break into groups and have discussion, and somebody would lead that discussion.
So I didn't have any experience in church planting, no training in church planting. Didn't know what to do. So here is what we ended up doing. Let's open up the Bible and look at every passage in the Bible that talks about the church. And out of that came our mission and our purpose and our vision and our values. And one of the values was church doesn't exist for those inside, it exists also for those outside of the church. And so we realized if this is what's going to happen, then we're either going to need a bigger living room or a new location. We ended up here. Prairie Ridge Middle School. We had our first public worship service here in the middle school cafeteria, and I remember at the time it seemed so big. Now, not so much. Seems a little bit smaller. I remember thinking, is anyone actually going to show up? And 150 people came to that first service, and we were just grateful for that. But the next thing that happened is, like, well, what do we do now? And reaching into my deep reservoir of experience, I say, God, help. He's been doing that ever since.
It was amazing, the growth between the cafeteria, and then we moved to the East Gym, the Northview Middle School, the old one. And then we moved to the main gym as we needed more space, as we started to attract more people to come to the church. And then the stage, which is the cafeteria, we opened that up and utilized the entire cafeteria for the praise and worship team with the stage there. And so it was a lot of hot summers and setting up with the stage and the chairs.
It became evident that we needed to take a step of faith and go into a bigger space. And one of the things we talked about is, if you build it, they'll come. And sure enough, even the first week that we moved into the actual building of the where we are today.
There was a lot of transitions going on. We had felt led to buy 8 acres. They bought 8 acres, one location, and then they talked about that they didn't think that was going to be enough, so we had to find another location. So that's how we bought the 20 acres where we're at. I had a contractor they worked with, so it was kind of neat to see God in that transition of that. And then another humbling part was going up and driving stakes on the property. We all got a 2x2 stake, and we wrote scripture, something that meant to us on that, and then drove them into the ground, and yeah, it was just a real humbling experience with that, with all the people that were involved with that. So,
building the building quickly, it attracted a lot of people within the community, people that your kids played sports with, or you coached with, or you saw them and you knew them. All of a sudden you started seeing them within the Prairie Ridge Sunday worship, and getting active in men's and women's groups, and volunteering, and that was really exciting to see that continued growth and development, and seeking and learning and giving back to God with their gifts and talents.
After a decade without the permanent building, we've been so grateful to be able to have a space. We can do so many more things having a permanent facility that we couldn't do before. Being able to have youth ministry all days of the week, being able to do things with kids throughout the week, classes, support groups. One of the things that is just fascinating we can do with a building, we do things like have an adult prom on a regular basis for adults with special needs. Worship center turns into a dance hall. The gym turns into a restaurant. It's just a great joy to be able to have a facility now where we can do ministry every day of the week.
We continue to see God changing lives, and we remember all the lives that have been changed, and the people, some who are still present, some who've moved on, and some who've planted their own churches. And we just, I think, look at all that God continues to do, and we look to the future. And we say, oh God, what's next? What's next? What do you want for us? And we know that we just want to lean into His purpose and His plans for us, the Ridge. And we know that He's got a purpose and a plan much bigger, much more than we could ever ask or imagine. And it's fun to be able to take others along on this journey with us and to be a part of the whole Ridge story, past and then present, and who knows what's going to happen in the future.